Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the Thermaltake Ceres 330. This is the new and improved version of the classic, which was the Ceres 300. There's been a few improvements made to this, a few modifications, and in my opinion they've made a cracking job of it, giving you the utmost flexibility for modern platforms and also for the new back to front type models such as your Project Zeros, the ASUS back to front range, and other motherboards which will be coming out in the future, which will allow you to wire your components from the back of the motherboard rather from the front, which I think is actually a pretty cool thing as long as it's implemented correctly. And it does appear that Thermaltake have done a pretty decent job on that. So in today's video, we're going to do a quick tour of the case. We'll take a look at the possibilities. Also, Thermaltake have been kind enough to loan me an ASUS motherboard and also a graphics card. So you'll be seeing some B-roll of those actually in place, so you can get an idea of how the system actually works. There will actually be a follow-up video to this where we do a full build in it and also do some thermal and testing in general, just to see how it all works, how easy it is to use, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to see how that goes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the chime notification, and that way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, let's get on and take a look at this case and see what it's all about. So we'll start off on the exterior of the case, and this is obviously why some people are going to choose this over certain other cases for the actual aesthetics of it. And I actually really like the look of this. If you look at the case behind me, which is actually the Ceres 500, you can see the design language has been translated down into a slightly smaller chassis. And also they've learned a few little lessons from some of the critiques that people may have had previously, or maybe it's just one of those design things where they changed things up a little bit. One of the first things which sticks out to me personally is the fact that the side panel here and this front scoop is now color coded to tie in with the rest of the design, which kind of makes it blend in and not stick out, whereas on the Ceres 500 it was a different color, so it did kind of stick out from the design a little bit, which I feel detracted from the overall look, but it's obviously going to be down to the individual. Something else they've done on the Ceres 330 over the Ceres 300 is, like I said, they've got the new motherboard cutout. So if you're going for a back to front type design, then you're going to get all the options to be able to pass through those cables, etc. Other than that though, it's actually a very similar case. Lots of things are pretty much exactly the same. The control panels, the ventilation, all that kind of stuff. So if you like the Ceres 300, then this is going to be basically as nice, if not better. And it's basically the same price as well, maybe £5, £10 difference depending where you're shopping. And of course, as always, we'll put links in the video description so you can check out pricing local to you. So what do we actually get included with the Ceres 330? Now, Thermaltake are one of those companies which have taken a giant leap forward in terms of chassis fans, and included straight out of the box, you get two of the addressable RGB CT140 fans, which are installed up front. And also in the rear, there is a single CT140 non-RGB fan. So you've got three 140mm fans included straight out of the box. Those have a retail value of somewhere in the region of about £30 to £40, depending where you're shopping. So if you take that off the price of the case, I think it's actually a very, very good bargain. Also, this case has pretty much around about 55 to 60% of the case is ventilation. So you've got massive ventilation on the front here. You've also got ventilation on the top, on the back, and also down on the front there, you can see there's a little ventilation there near where the PSU normally lives. So in terms of airflow, this is going to be great for any type of setup, whether you're going to stick with the CT140s up front, maybe you want to take them out, replace them with something else. In terms of actually what you can fit in this front section, you can put in three 120mm fans, two 140mm fans, and also you can put in radiators at the front here. So it supports a 360mm radiator, or a 280mm radiator, or obviously smaller ones as well, 240s, etc. But yeah, two 140mm fans or three 120mm fans do fit in there quite easily. Now the front panel is easily removable. There's a little grab handle on the bottom there, so just grab that and give it a little tug. And the front panel comes away, and this will reveal one of the first dust filters. So we've got a full length dust filter there, nicely shaped at the bottom as well, and it clips in nice and easily. There we go, so very nice and easy to do. And then that actually reveals our CT140 fans. So these are the addressable RGB versions. They've got a very nice translucent blade which allows the RGB to diffuse, and also they are daisy chainable, and those are pre-installed, ready to go as they come from the factory. So you can, if you want to, take those out, put them in the top if you want to, and replace the front with a 360 rad or three 120mm fans. The choice is yours. There's lots of cable options and routing options there, depending on what you decide to do. Taking a look at the front I/O, so at the top there, you have got your separate reset button. You've also got a separate headset and microphone jack. There's also two USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, and also you've got a USB Type C header. Followed alongside that, you have got your hard drive activity and power LEDs, and also a very nice clicky power button. Next, we'll move around to the side. So this is a tempered glass side panel, 4mm thick. Got a nice trim all the way around the outside edges there, so greasy fingerprints, etc. It's not looking as clear as it normally would because it does have the protective coating on, which you can just peel off and then it reveals absolutely crystal clear glass. Where things get a little bit interesting, if you do have a little bit of extra cash in your pocket after you've budgeted for your PC and you want to add a little bit more bling, you can add in this section here a Thermaltake control panel, which is an LCD. I think it's a 3.9-inch LCD, which you can probably just about see in between us here, up there. I've already got one in the Ceres 500 behind. It is quite expensive. It is somewhat of a luxury purchase, but if you do want that, then it is an option. And this case is also, I should mention as well, is a black version, and also there is the fantastic Hydrangea blue. If we move a little bit further down the end here, you can see this is where your power supply section would be, so power supply basement. There's actually two screws on the side there, so you can get a quick release to this side panel and then remove it. And like pretty much everything else on this case, there's a removable filter in there, so for cleaning purposes. This is actually going to be great for some of the newer high wattage power supplies, which do pull in a lot of air and also do generate a little bit of heat. So having a little bit of extra ventilation down here will aid the air for your power supply, and also for doing basic maintenance tasks. Maybe you need to grab a cable or something. Nice easy access without taking the back off or taking the front out, whichever you want to do. And of course, this panel here, two screws, remove that, you can flip that out and replace it with the panel should you need to. And then that reveals an absolute cavernous basement in the bottom for cable management and storage. Removing the tempered glass side panel is very easy. You've got captive thumb screws here, and actually what we're talking about the thumb screws, you'll probably notice from the B-roll and also the close-ups, all the screws that are included are this really nice kind of silvery chrome, and they're all matching as well. So in the accessories box, there's a bag of screws of all the fixtures and fittings, and all the screws are matching, which is really nice. There's also a little hexagonal adapter there for doing the motherboard pillars and standoffs, and also you've got some cable ties and all that kind of usual stuff. Something else which is actually very handy is a BIOS beep speaker. I wish more cases would come with those included. They always used to back in the day. For some reason they don't now, but I like that Thermaltake still include those in your accessories kit. What we're talking about actually with the accessories kit, something else which is included, there is also a PWM extension cable for the rear mounted 140mm CT140 fan. The other ones for the other fans are actually already pre-wired and included. Anyway, back to the side panel. So undo those screws, you've got a grab handle there, and you can just slide it backwards if you loosen them off enough. And you can pull it off, and that is a completely crystal clear side panel. Again, there is a protective coating on there, so just make sure you remove both sides. Now with that out of the way, we can take a closer look inside, and you've probably seen this from B-roll already, but I've had this actually on our rotating plinth, so you can get a good idea of what is going on. But this is where we get the first glimpse of what makes this case actually significantly different to the Ceres 300 and also the 500. And that is the fact that it does support Project Zero and the ASUS BTF system. So if you look closely, you'll see we've got these cutouts here, here, and all around the bottom. And this is for your back to front wiring. So you've probably, again, you've seen it from the B-roll with the motherboard spinning round. Essentially what this allows you to do is, if you want to use a normal, regular micro ATX or ATX motherboard, don't worry, it's absolutely fine. That is something which we should clarify. You can use a normal, regular ATX or micro ATX motherboard in here, or even ITX if you want to. I probably wouldn't advise it because it's going to look a bit weird, but if you want to, you certainly can. So normal, regular motherboards will fit in here without any problems whatsoever. But what these cutouts do actually allow you to do is to have that choice. And choice is something we don't always get in life, so it's always nice to have it where you can. And it doesn't cost any extra, or at least if it does, it's very minimal price difference. So you can have the motherboards so that they have the backwards connectors on. Again, you're seeing tons of B-roll from this. I had a play with it a little bit earlier. We put the ASUS motherboard in there, and actually it is a very enjoyable experience. Wiring up is very, very easy to do. And also it makes this front section look so much cleaner. So if you are someone who is kind of into your aesthetics and want a super ultra clean build, then this might be the case for you. Getting away slightly from the BTF section of Project Zero, we do, as you'd expect from a quality case like this, you do have rubberized grommets there. also which have been color coded in white. Now that is something else which sticks out as a significant difference between the Ceres 500 and the Ceres 300. The Ceres 330 does have the color coded grommets there, whereas you can probably just see in the background the white version of the Ceres 500 has black rubber grommets, which do kind of stick out a little bit. So this is just designed to make everything look nice and clean and crisp and clear. Whether you go for the snow version or the black version, it's all going to tie in together. Also, while we're in this section, we will make a quick note about the front section here. So if you are going to put a 360mm radiator in, that is going to limit the size of your graphics card. If you're going for a 4090, you're going to have a very tight fit. But in terms of graphics cards, it will fit a 4090 very easily. Again, you're seeing that from B-roll. When it comes to CPU coolers, if you're going for a standard traditional tower cooler, up to 185mm of clearance, power supply wise 220mm. So yeah, you've got a lot of room here for playing around with that sort of stuff, depending on how you do your build. So again, in the top there, we can see the 140 CT fan. Yeah, other than that, it's a pretty normal layout, everything you expect. Pass-throughs at the very top as well to pass your cables over. If you are using an AIO with a BTF or Project Zero board, you are going to have to take the pump wires somewhere. So yeah, you can take them out through the top there. You still have all that flexibility that you'd expect. Also, you've got the pass-throughs on the bottom. So for normal ATX builds or micro ATX, you can still pass all your cables through exactly as you would normally. You've got 3 cutouts at the bottom, or pin sections. So if you want to, you can actually vertically mount a GPU in here. Now, obviously with the ASUS board, that has a specific connection, which makes it so you can only put the graphics card in horizontally. But for pretty much all other motherboards, then you can do a vertical mounting. And actually the way the vertical mounting is done is very clever indeed. So let's take a look at that next. So now we're at the back of the case. So you can see here at the bottom, so ATX mounting section there, no worries there, very straightforward. Where it gets very cool indeed is this section here. So you've got your traditional removable PCI Express brackets, and also you've got your blanking plate on the side here. But what you can do if you want to do a vertical mounting, rather than actually have it mounted over this side, which would make it way too close to the glass, there's a really clever and easy way of doing this. There's 4 screws, which are there, there, and there. Undo those. You can take this section out in its entirety, twist it around 90 degrees, and then that gives you the ability to actually use a vertical mounting. There's also pillars included in the accessories box. So for mounting your PCI Express cable, that isn't included. Those are generally very expensive. So to keep costs down, obviously they haven't included because not everybody wants to do vertical mounting. You will have to factor in that additional PCI Express adapter. So moving up from there, we've got our I/O shield. Again, you're seeing this from B-roll. Motherboard fits in there, absolutely no problems at all. Actually, the standoffs on the motherboard mounting section, they have got this centralizing pillar as well. So the motherboard kind of locks into place, so you know you've got it in exactly the right place, which is very nice. Here we've got 140mm fan, as I've said numerous times already. You can, if you want to, swap out with a 120 or another 140 of your choice, should you wish to. Maybe upgrade it to some SWA fans. Choice is yours, but 120s, 140s are supported there. We next should take a look at the top section, because the top section of this case is, I would say, in my personal opinion, one of the possible limitations for this. So in the top, you have got a removable dust filter on the top, so you just pull it off. It's magnetic, as all the filters are on here are. That comes out very easily, and that gives you the options at the top there. So you can mount in the top 3 120mm fans, you can mount 2 140mm fans, or you can mount a 280mm or 240mm AIO. Unfortunately, due to the kind of more compact nature of the 300 series over the 500, there isn't enough room in the top for a 360, which I think is actually a little bit of a shame, if I'm completely honest. I am someone who likes to mount my 360mm rads at the top, but in this particular case, that isn't going to be possible. You are going to have to put your 360s in the front, so do bear that in mind. If you're looking at a 360 and that's kind of like your goal, it will have to go in the front, not the top. But don't worry, Thermaltake got some really good 280mm AIOs that are available, and plenty of room for installing them, and also a nice offset so it doesn't interfere too much with your motherboard. And of course, if you're using a Project Zero or a BTF board, then it doesn't matter where it is, because all the cables are on the back side, and that is what we're going to take a look at next. So now we're going to take a look in the back, and the first thing actually you notice about this is the slightly unusual, you've got an additional area down here for ventilation, again near the power supply. I don't really know why they've done that. I'm guessing it's going to add more cost to make it, and there is actually a filter behind there. But yeah, it's a nice addition. I don't know whether it is necessary, but it is handy. So metal panel there, We've also got the filter that is removable, again on magnets. And so now we can see a little bit better what is actually going on in this back section. So again, something else they've done, they've color coded all the cabling. So if you get the white case, you get white cables. If you go for the black version of the case, you get black cables, as you pretty much would expect. And also the Thermaltake tie wraps, all been color coded as well. So it's all those little nice attentions to detail which has made the jump from the 300 to 330 a really nice, pleasant experience. And also from here, you can see a little bit more about how this whole system works. It probably makes a little bit more sense. I've taken various shots of B-roll as well, so you can see with the cables connected and all that kind of stuff. One of the concerns that I had, and potentially have still, is something which I feel that potentially they have overlooked and would have been a nice addition had it been included out of the box. But I looked into it in more depth, and it's not a kind of one size fits all fix for this slight problem that I've found. And that is the fact that because you're plugging your cables into the back here, there are a couple of cables, namely PCI Express, the new type graphics card connector, the 12+4 pin. Those, there was a lot of discussion when those come out about not bending them at 90 degrees. Now, unfortunately, when you plug in your cable here, as you're probably seeing from the B-roll, you have no option whatsoever than to bend the cables 90 degrees. So I think it would have been a nice inclusion to include a 90-degree adapter. Whether or not that onus would fall onto the motherboard manufacturer, or whether or not it goes to the case manufacturer, I think the jury's probably out in terms of my own internal conflicts on this. I see that it doesn't really make it fair, because obviously some cases where the cable's going to go, you might want to vertically go that way or 90 degrees one way or the other. So having one connector which does all probably isn't the easiest of things to do, so it's probably better just to work out what you want, then order yourself up a 90-degree connector. And I'll actually put some links in the video description as well, so if you are planning to get this, I'll link some of those from Amazon, so you can get a 90-degree adapter for your 12+4 connector and also for your USB 3.0, because the USB 3.0, as we're used to seeing, is actually quite a chunky connector. So hopefully you can see that. I haven't taken any separate B-roll of this one, but this would live kind of either here or sort of here. You're seeing it from B-roll when I actually had it installed. It does flex, and there's actually a nice flexible cable on there, so it does physically fit, and you can get the back panel on. I have tried. And while we're in looking at here, we've also got the front panel connector, which is a single front panel connector, which is awesome. So no kind of working out, which one's power, which one's reset. You just bosh straight in there, job done. It does look really nice. You've got your HD audio, and also you've got your USB Type-C. Again, with the USB Type-C, pretty much all of these are very flimsy anyway, so that does bend very nicely, so you don't have any real concerns about space. My only concerns would be with the power supply, depending which one you go in with. I actually use the Thermaltake power supply, the GFA3 1050 watt in this, and that cable was actually quite nice. It flexed quite a bit because it doesn't have those extra kind of braidings around it, which you get with some Corsair power supplies specifically, I have noticed on those. So yeah, it bent very easily. I cable managed it all up again, as you're seeing, and the back panel went on very easily. So there's no real concerns there, but it is something which I want to point out, just in case you kind of mix and match in. Maybe you're going for a different brand power supply, maybe it kinks out a little bit too far. Just do kind of think ahead. Maybe order a 90-degree adapter just to be on the safe side, so that if you're building it all in one day, you don't get to the point where, oh damn, I can't physically get my case on. Anyway, that's probably enough about that. So massive cavernous area at the bottom. You can as well if you want to. There is a mounting option at the bottom for a 120 or a 140mm fan in that basement section. Previously on the Ceres 500, there was actually a mounting bracket there for hard drives. They've kind of taken that out of the equation here. Hard drives are slightly of a bit of a dying breed now, so not really that necessary. Wherever you want to put a fan down there, choice is entirely up to you. Power supply is going to go here, being full length filter at the bottom, which we'll take a look at shortly. You've also got the Velcro straps, as I said, for cable management. You've got your cabling already done there, nice and neat, for your front CT140 fans, ARGB. Mounting for hard drives. Now there is actually a hard drive mounting here, so 3.5-inch drive can go there, or a 2.5-inch drive, and you've also got two sleds here for 2.5-inch drives. Now this will get a little bit kind of cluttered up if you start putting drives in there as well, but that's one of the things. It is a slightly more compact mid-tower case, so with that does come those things of trying to find room for everything. Obviously if you go for an ultra full-size tower, then you've got tons of room, so just do bear that in mind. Overall though, I must admit I was somewhat hesitant to the whole back to front or inverted or whatever they call it, the Project Zero type thing, wiring from the back. Again, my concerns were the cables not fitting, but in terms of actually attaching everything in, yeah, it's an absolute dream. Even at the top here, where the dual 8-pin connectors are for the EPS, oh my goodness, how much time did I save with that? Literally, bosh, bosh, done. Whereas when you're on the inside, it's like trying to fish your hand up and fish the cables through, and then plug it in, then you've got to remove your CPU cooler or your AIO from the top. It's an absolute pain in the balls, but this was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, really looking forward to kind of this evolving as a standard. Now, as the doctor said, let's take a look at the bottom. So on the bottom, we've got plastic feet with rubberized dampers on there, screws in there, so if you want to take those off you can do for some reason, not that you'd really want to. You have that full length filter, and actually it's quite nice because the filter actually pulls out from the front, which is not so nice for me because that's the furthest away, but yeah, you get the general idea. So that just slides in this channel. Yeah, I've taken some b-roll of that so you'll see what that's all about, but that's pretty good. Yeah, nice to see a nice mesh filter rather than one of those horrible metal things that just fall apart at any opportunity. We'll take a quick look at the top. We did talk about this earlier, but I wanted to go through this, and the filter comes off very nice and easily. So magnets in the back section, 2 little lugs in the front, so they just marry up there, he says, and there we go. That is in position. So it's kind of like mesh on mesh really. So you probably would be better off just going with that if you've got an AIO in there, just to let more air out. It's quite open though, so yeah, very nice. And like I said before, 280mm radiator in the top, no problem at all. 2 140s, happy days. 3 120mm fans only, not a 360mm rad, unfortunately. Although potentially you might be able to get it to fit somehow if you tweak things around and maybe don't have the fan in the back, but I haven't tried it, and yeah, I don't think I'll bother. I think 280 is where it should be. That's what they say it should do, so that's what we're going to leave it as. So there we go. There is a tour of the Ceres 330 with its new and quite exciting but also quite scary at the same time, the BTF or Project Zero or whatever Gigabyte and ASRock decide to call it. I really do like the idea of it. It's it does make life easier. Something else I did think about, and I did mention before in a previous video, and I've actually watched other people's live streams on this case and other setups using the kind of Project Zero or back to front design. For me, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to look great when it's on display, which, being a YouTube channel, we have PCs on display. That's definitely a thing. It's going to be slightly more annoying for me, especially like because I have my PC here. So if I want to test anything or plug something in, I'm going to have to take off the back panel and probably the front panel as well. So that is a little bit of an annoyance. It would be nice if there was some way of having kind of, I don't know, a pass-through or just easier access to the back. But I guess that is part and parcel of it. The fact that you've got that ultra clean look, the super easy cable management in the back there, which I know not everybody is bothered about, but this does make cable management so much easier. And even just attaching the cables. Quite often, if someone's on a Discord and they say, oh, I've got a problem with my PC, the first thing we say is, right, send us a picture of the wiring. Now for this is easy because you just take a picture of the back, you can see if all the wires are in the right places. Very simple. So for system diagnosis purposes, for keeping things clean and tidy, and for just being kind of cool, I think this is an absolute winner. And I am absolutely genuinely excited to get a build done on this, so that'll be coming up very shortly. There is also going to be a live stream, so the coming up live stream of this week, we will be doing the build in this and taking a look at the case as we did previously. We had a little rundown of the case before it was actually relaunched, but this time we've got some kit. We've got a 14700K, we've got the ASUS Hero Maximus 8 board or whatever it is. We've also got an RTX 4090 from ASUS as well, so see how well that fits in there and how it all looks, and get more information on how the back to front system actually works. So I think it's a pretty cool case. It's at a very cool price and it looks very nice, and yeah, I like it a lot. I'm actually looking forward to the Ceres 550 if they do one. I think that would be very cool, just a little bit bigger. Anyway, that wraps this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.